We have a special guest joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Vikramjiet Roy, the Managing Director of Maccaferri, a company that provides tailor-made design solutions for complex engineering projects. Joining us today to give us some insights into the rescue operation. Firstly, good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining in on NewsX. So what is your assessment of the situation in Uttarkashi?
To assess any situation in the field of tunneling, especially underground engineering, there are many variables that have to be taken into account as a complete description of the problem. And an assessment only becomes possible only for those who have in hands available data regarding the site and its industry. And what were the original unaltered geological conditions, and what operations and how these operations have been conducted, and many such information which are not available in the public domain. Therefore, in terms of an assessment, I can only say or convey my strong conviction that despite the enormous challenges, and thanks to the tremendous mobilization of knowledge and resources, the situation will be brought to a positive conclusion, and as it seems, and it would take time, probably more time than expected, but I'm quite sure that the 41 men will rejoin their families, and all this will remain for them a memory. Perhaps not pleasant, but memory. It is now not the time to think what and how it happened, but it is to make sure that all efforts are concentrated on bringing these people safely out.
Right, so absolutely. Several drilling machines have been damaged and continue to be replaced. So, what is a possible way forward as per you?
The material obstructing the tunnel seems to be a chaotic combination of boulders and loose soil that has caved in from above, and materials constituting the preliminary lining and comprising shotcrete and metallic parts that were being possibly used in the tunnel construction. So drilling a small diameter hole has proven possible, and through that hole, which is lined by a casing, it is now possible to supply air, water, and food, which is very important, and it is also the only open communication channel with the person strapped inside. However, to allow a person to pass through, the size of the opening has to be larger diameter. The size, like a real mini micro tunnel. Larger the diameter of the drilling, higher is the probability to encounter a boulder or a steel structural element immersed in the loose soil, which tremendously complicates the operation itself. And to the point that it could damage the tools, as we have also been reading and hearing. In such a situation, one could think to resort to a manual intervention, but any such operation performed in such a narrow, confined space would prove extremely difficult and also, of course, time-consuming. An additional risk of operating within the collapsed zone is that of disturbing the possibly precarious equilibrium of the collapsed zone and its surroundings, with a consequent broadening of the zone already in critical condition. So that's why one has to be extremely careful. A possible way forward must be explored or could be explored is that of bypassing the collapsed zone and put in communication the trapped personnel with outside through a path different from that the tunnel followed when it was excavated. This passage could be materialized through a small diameter tunnel going around the collapse zone until the zone where the trapped person is reached, or a vertical shaft drilled from the surface.
Right, so absolutely. Do you remember a similar situation in India or any other part of the world, and what was the method that was picked up?
So, there have been incidents, even in India and internationally, especially, in the mining industry, there have been instances, but I think everyone would remember possibly a mining accident that happened in Chile in 2010. It was the Copiapo mining accident. The miners in that case remained trapped over 2 months and a much higher depth than that of the Uttarkashi tunnel. This case is a clear reference. Three separate drilling attempts, like I was mentioning earlier, more than one, were almost simultaneously put in place from the surface. And one was successful and provided a safe way out for the trapped personnel. And around these kind of incidents, which have been fairly critical, there are a lot of scientific and technical papers that are available to provide guidance to the teams that are working to resolve the present situation.
So how do you think the experts can overcome the problem faced in drilling horizontally? Is there any way to know what obstacles could be there in the last leg?
As I said, it would be quite straightforward to assume that in the collapse zone, there would be a chaotic combination of boulders, soil, and structural elements that are present. There are tools available for geological and geophysical prospection, able to, identify zones of different characteristics and the possibility to present the presence of obstacles. However, these instruments are designed to operate within certain regular conditions and have hardly been, tested in conditions such as those in Uttarkashi. So obviously, there are tools available, but what really matters is also the presence of experience and expertise of having dealt with situations that must be available on hand and on ground to find the solution.
So how do you think the morale of the trapped workers can be kept high?
Well, I think maintaining the morale of the trapped workers in such a harrowing situation in an under construction tunnel is probably one of the most important things. And I would say that communication is really vital because regular updates on rescue efforts and reassuring messages about the safety are very crucial. And then, through this communication channels, encouraging camaraderie among workers, fostering a sense of unity and support can uplift spirits to a large extent. Also, if necessary, providing psychological support through trained personnel or counselors via communication channels could offer comfort. Ensuring a steady supply of water, food, medicine, whatever is needed, if possible. This builds confidence in the people trapped inside, and I think through this communication also to instill confidence. One must be expressing gratitude for the resilience and emphasizing that help is on its way, and it's only a question of a little time that they would be possibly extricated, because there is nothing that works like hope amongst for people who are probably trapped in a situation. A feeling of helplessness is bound to happen, but I think it's up to all of us around who can possibly communicate with them to make sure that the spirits are kept high and hopes are kept at the highest.
Now, what are the biggest challenges at this point in your assessment?
We discussed the challenges in terms of the physical work, but time is obviously the most critical factor, considering the human element, and the longer it takes, the more difficult it becomes to keep the situation sustained. I think the responsible who are working on this rescue operation should keep a very open mind, try all possibilities, and focus on the safest, outcome of this awful situation in the shortest possible time, with the release of all the trapped persons. Technologies are available, and no one must, spare any effort to have all the available options deployed on site, whatever the cost is. So right now, like I'd mentioned earlier, is not the time to think of what and how, but once the situation is resolved, I think all stakeholders must definitely think about the what and how, because these kind of situations can be avoided, could be mitigated because there are technologies available to, create a safer working environment. So those technologies need to be adopted, and the latest advancements must be brought into play and things like that. But those are all things for the later. Right now, the focus is on saving the 41 of our uh, citizens who are trapped in this situation, and to bring this to a conclusion as soon as possible.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.